You are listening to the Park Flyer Podcast, where we discuss our RC adventures.
Welcome to the Park Flyer Podcast, where we discuss the ups and downs of the new RC Flyer. Join your hosts, Michael and Jay, as they take flight at the park. Now on with the show.
I know. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Park Flyer Podcast. I'm Michael from Arizona. With me always are my good friends.
Jay from the hills of Texas.
Shannon G and Mesa AZ.
We'd like to welcome you to this week's episode. We are happy to have you. We appreciate your patronage and the fact that you're listening to us. As always, click on our YouTube page, click subscribe, give us a thumbs up, share. That'll help us out. We are constantly getting new members, and we do appreciate you listening all over the world. I think Japan moved up to number 3, which is pretty exciting. So yeah, I think it's the U.S. and then Canada, and then Japan moved up one. It was Germany, and now I think Japan. So if you're listening in Japan, we appreciate it.
Upper Volta? Upper Volta?
Yeah, exactly, right. Yeah, I don't speak Japanese, but
Konnichiwa.
Jay's daughter does. Anyway, we have had a few episodes since Jay's birthday, but I remember when we were talking to Jay about his birthday gift that we were all excited about the maiden flight, which has happened since the birthday. If you were not familiar with that, you can go back and listen to his birthday podcast, but he got the E-Flight UMX Consendo. Is it Consendo? Consendo. I think I was pronouncing it Consendo, but it's actually Consendo. And yeah, Jay, you got that, and I think it was all exciting. I had flown it at the Electric Festival, and I really liked it.
That was one of the planes that really impressed me at the festival, and I didn't get a chance to fly it, but I mean, every time it came out, I watched it, and I just thought, well, that's pretty neat. You could fly it in the parking lot, you could fly it in the backyard. You could fly it fast, you could fly it slow. It looked just really versatile. So
and it was.
Yeah. So when I had a chance and my battery showed up, because that was the one thing that was holding me up was the batteries, and so finally found a good place to get them at.
Which is where, by the way? Where did you get your battery?
Actually, I ended up getting them off a place for eBay, and that's where I got them. And I got them at a decent price. And so basically, the batteries for these, and this is where I found the best price for them. You buy a E-Flight, I want to say it's like a 120 helicopter. Mm-hmm. They have a little three cell helicopter battery. That's the size that you could use for this, and it works perfectly, has more than enough power. And the place I got them from, you could get like not two for the price of one, but you could get two batteries for about $20. They were having a special or whatever, and it turned out to be a good deal. I think I sent it to you as well. When Mike told me that he was going to be getting you this same plane for your birthday.
I think you did. Yep.
Yeah. So that seemed to be the best place. And let me tell you, so I thought, all right, so you can fit it says in the instructions, you can fly a 200 milliamp battery, 3-cell milliamp battery, to a 300, and they are not kidding. So, like, one of the things I was thinking about was there was plenty of 350. I could find plenty of 350, 400 milliamp batteries, and I'm like, well, what's 50 milliamps? That get to fly longer and had better C rating. Yeah, sure, I'll get that. Yeah, no. 300 it is the max you can fit in there. There is no cramming. There is no finagling. To getting that thing in there. There quite literally is no more room for anything else but that battery. So
that's crazy too.
Yeah.
And for me, I have one. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see it sitting behind me. And actually, I don't have any of the 3 cells. You can fly it off of a 2-cell, and I have all those, Pitts S1.
Oh,
UMX,
that's right. Yeah, sure.
They all use 2-cell batteries, and so I've actually flown this one on 2-cell.
Okay,
and we can talk about that when you kind of give it in. But the Pulse battery fits right in there, and you are correct. It's a 300. Anything bigger, it's not fitting.
Yeah,
because it's got to have a special the JTX as well.
Yeah, just the JST. GST
or
connector.
GST, sorry.
Yeah.
GST connector.
But yeah, so like I have a bunch of 400s, some 500s. Like I said, I was like, oh, I should be able to fit one of those in there. No.
Nope.
It is
Pretty
pretty
tight
much
quarters.
designed one battery. So that's, unless you fly, like you said, 2 cells, then the 2 cells you can fit in there easily. You have a little bit of leeway of room to fit in there. So, but yeah, the 3 cell.
Just get a 600 and cut it in half.
Yeah, just splice it.
Yeah, just fold it, just roll it up into things, just stick it in there.
Yeah, doesn't work.
Yeah, it's a very small. I mean, yeah, the motor's in the front as well. So between the motor and where the wing attaches, there's only probably maybe 2 inches, if that.
Yeah,
maybe 1 3/4.
Yeah.
So it's pretty tight.
It's very tight.
Pretty tight.
It's very tight.
And the canopy just kind of pushes in and has a magnet to hold it shut. So it's not like you can, squeeze it and tie it down or lock it down.
Right. Or like in normal planes, you normally have like more foam on the sides of the plane. If you wanted to like cut out that foam and fit a bigger battery, and you can do that. In this plane, no, there is nothing. I mean, the fuselage is so thin that there's really nothing, there is no leeway of cutting or sanding some extra wiggle room. There just isn't any. But other than that, the plane is fantastic. I mean, flying wise. Now, how did you have any problems setting yours up, or did you run into any difficulties? Or let me put it this way: how did you set yours up? Do you have flaperons, spoilers on yours? How'd you set yours up? Just normal?
So no, yeah, I will tell you that this is very one like you talk about where you shake the box and it just kind of falls out.
Oh, absolutely.
But there's one plug you plug in, and then the wing actually sits down, and you just twist the knob on it,
which is really cool. Which is really cool.
Yeah. Now I have the IX20, and so it's basically kind of set up. I read the directions for the IX, and you just basically select I was really shocked, actually, to go back. I was shocked that they didn't have it in the IX20 already, because most of the other UMXs are in there, but this one was not. And so normally on my radio, I can just select the bind and fly, and it gives me the model, and everything's already set up. I just click the go to it, and it just does it all for me. But on this one, I actually had to set up for the way that the booklet told me. And so for me, I just had to select the airplane and normal tail, and then the safe mode and the AS3X are already in the airplane. But I did not go set up because I only had the 2 cell, I didn't set up for the spoilerons or flaperons as of yet. I wanted to go out and maiden it and get it all set up, that kind of thing, before I did it.
Yeah, so, I set mine up.
So to answer your question, I didn't have any problems setting it up. It went very, very quickly. And it's ready to fly in 5 minutes. But I haven't gone through that setup yet. If you did,
it's a little weird. It's a little weird, but it worked. It worked just as once they have excellent writers, for technical writers for writing instructions, because if you follow the instructions, the stuff will work. It may seem a little odd because they have you flicking some switches several times to put it in the mode. You have to put it in the mode. You have to put it in the mode. And you have to flick a couple of switches several times in a certain sequence, in order to put it into that mode for it to remember it. And then you're like, well, did it work or did it not work? And, there's a little bit of leeway, but if you go back to the instructions, follow what they tell you, it will work. And it works very well. So, now for flying it with, I've flown planes with flaperons and spoilerons and stuff before, and it's been, I'm not going to say disastrous, but the results have been very poor. Meaning, usually for the flaperons, the slower I'd get, and the more movement I would have, the worse the stalling would get, or something. Something really weird would happen when when I started messing with flaperons. With this plane, it just flies like a dream. Just flies like a dream. In fact, the spoiler-ons, as opposed to a couple other bigger planes that I have, usually you pop on those spoilers. I mean, that just kills the lift and the plane just comes down like a glided brick.
Mm-hmm.
This plane, not so much. And so I was like, this is the part, even though I haven't gone into the flying, but that was the part where I was like, ooh, I think I might need to increase the throws just a little, like need to have a little bit more throws on the plane, which usually for spoiler-ons and flapper-ons, you don't need much. I mean, a little goes a long way. And in fact, that's
Right.
usually how people get themselves in trouble, is that they go, oh, I'll just add in, a whole bunch of this stuff. And it's disastrous. But at least with the settings they start you out with, you'll have no problems. And it'll work. And like I said, the plane's great because it could zoom around like you're pylon racing. Then you can just slow it down and be like putting along at, half a knot, and it's just staying in the sky. It's remarkable.
Did you set yours up with the 100% and the 70%?
Yes,
That was in the
like
manual?
one, like
Okay.
one like high rate and then like a medium rate, I think is what I have on there.
Yeah, I had it's just a high and a low or whatever, but
Yeah.
it's 100% and then 70%, and then the expo is really low, like 5% or something. But
Yeah.
I found after flying mine that I don't like the lower rates. It just doesn't react as well.
Yeah,
for
I
me.
can't remember. I know that I really didn't even play with the rates. At first I was just trying out the different rates and different things, but after a while I just left it on what I can't remember if it was high or low. Honestly, to tell you the
Yeah,
truth.
it probably was high because that's what I did with mine. I just left
and
them
it
on
just
high.
it just flew fine or whatever. But like I said, I was playing with the flapper-ons and spoiler-ons and that kind of thing, and they just weren't giving me, compared to other gliders or other things I've had with that stuff on there, it wasn't giving me the performance I was looking for. And then I had a little incident and I wasn't able to, further my experiments. So,
Yo,
yeah.
What's that?
Yeah.
that's terrible.
Yeah. I'll tell you about that in a sec.
Well, So, before you get to your incident, because this is all about your maiden, but I will tell you that mine went relatively easy. Matter of fact, I just flew right here on the ranch. I just
cool.
went outside and kind of flew around. The 2-cell is not as snappy because I flew it at the electric festival with a 3-cell in it. That thing hauls the mail.
It
I mean,
hauls
it
the
was
mail,
like
yep.
a speed demon, and then slow it down. The full throttle on the 2-cell is like a slow fly 28. It's just putts around. Now, there's some value to that because you get a little bit of wind, which I do up here, right? I mean, it's kind of the Windy Ridge area, and my flags are always flapping around out there. And when I first flew it, it was just calm day, and I kind of maidened it, and I knew early in the morning that it would be, no wind, and then so I got all the, trimmed it out. Didn't only took a couple of clicks, got it all trimmed up, and then threw the other battery in there, flew it again. Now this time the wind picked up. Switched over to the high rates, which I like much better, and then I got it up, a couple of mistakes, and then just shut the motor off and just was gliding around. And that thing will slow way down and just kind of hover. And then, I dive down. It does really cool loops, but the aileron rolls were real lethargic for me. They didn't happen very fast. Matter of fact, it got stuck upside down, and I just flew it around upside down for a little bit. Then I kind of did a split S back into there. I was like,
That's pretty.
I'm
That's
like,
interesting.
oh, and I couldn't get it back around, so
I think you
it
should
was just
fly
kind of
it
weird.
behind us here in your man cave. Probably could.
Oh yeah, that's true. I could fly
There
it
you
in right here. It's actually a little bit quick to fly around in here. I could fly something smaller in there, or like the Vapor. I could fly
Yeah,
in here.
we've done that before.
That thing is a little bit faster. But I do like the launch mechanism in the safe mode where you can just
Yeah,
toss
that
it
was
in the
pretty.
air
That was
and it
pretty
just kinda
cool.
Yeah.
That you can pretty
You
much
just
put
hold
down
it
your
at a
radio.
45,
Yep.
and it just launches out at a 45.
Yep.
I mean, you can literally put the radio down by your side.
Yep, you could.
And just toss it, and it just stays in the track until you take the sticks, and then as soon as you move the sticks, it starts moving around.
Yep.
Which is very, very cool. And then their gear switch actually takes it out of safe, and I did fly it around a safe for a couple minutes, just try to see. And it won't go upside down. It just kind of for someone that's learning to fly, this would be a great airplane.
Yes,
to set up because
I would definitely concur with that. But I will say, for people who do know how to fly, if you have it in safe mode, it's kind of scary.
It's frustrating.
It's frustrating, scary, or you're like, hey, what's wrong with this plane?
Right.
Why is it? It's not reacting.
It
It's
won't
not
turn.
It won't turn. It's not turning, or it's not doing what I expect it to do because it seems lethargic or like it's refusing to do your commands, and that's
Right.
kind of what it's doing. And it's trying to keep the plane.
It's just
straight and
limiting
level.
the
Yeah, it's just
bank.
limiting your bank and stuff, and it's just one of those things where you're like, oh man, this thing is not turning. It is not doing anything that I told it to do. What's going on? But
Right. It's funny.
but
So you lucked out because I think Mike came down for your maiden, right?
no, I made
AK
I made it.
Mike?
Yeah, I made it before he came down.
Oh, you made it before it came down. Okay.
Yeah,
Perfect.
yeah. I made it. I on my day that I made mine. Unfortunately, you know how my field can be. It can be calm and then it can be blustery. Well, it
Mhm.
was one of the
That's true.
blusterier days, and it was overcast,
Gotcha.
and it was kind of one of those gray skies, low clouds,
Mhm.
and I was out there and I'm like, yeah, well, it should be fine. I'll just keep it close. It should be fine.
Famous last words.
And I did, and it was fine. And then, I started having fun with the plane. And of course, like I said, I have a
Right.
3-cylinder
Right.
thing. So I'm zipping around, wee, zoom, 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 zoom. And
Mhm.
okay, I will just put it out to older folks whose eyesight may be going or, having a hard time seeing smaller things, that this is a plane you have to keep near and dear to your heart.
Yeah.
If you've never flown wings before, where you can kind of just have a good feeling where the plane's at, it is if you fly this like you fly a normal glider and you just get it up there and you want to glide around, you have to be very careful because you can get it up there and just be like, oh wow, that's so much fun, and then you blink and you're like, oh crap, where'd the plane? White day, gray background. You're like, oh crap, where'd the
Mhm.
plane go? It's up there. So okay, you can kind of hear it. you know, this and the plane's very quiet, right? So
It
it
is very
doesn't
quiet.
it doesn't make much noise at all. So it's not like you can hear it. When you're throttling up and stuff, it's very very faint. So yeah, you need to keep your eyes on it. Don't fly too far away because it is very easy with you having fun that you get it up
Mhm.
a couple of mistakes high, and if the clouds are just right and you're not paying attention, oh man, that plane can disappear. So that was one of the first things I learned when I was flying that day. Plus it was kind of blustery, so the plane was little things getting blown around a little bit, and
Right.
and I was like, okay, I may be tempting the fates. I'm going to bring it I'm going to bring it back closer to the field and fly it a little lower to the ground and whatever else, and right lower, in my little area. So I did that, and then everything was fine. But like I said, this plane zooms so much that you just have a tendency to want to, skyrocket the thing, come zipping
Sure.
back down to the ground, slow it right down. I just like the turns you could just do in this plane. You can get so aggressive with it. When you're turning and banking it. I mean, you just get it.
Mhm.
You just get it really. Yeah, it's fun. It's just really fun.
So it's
So
almost like a hotliner, right?
it's like a
It's
little
got
mini.
it's kind
It's
of a
it's a
hotliner type
little
feel.
mini hotline or a warm liner. I call it a warm liner, but yes,
A warm liner, maybe. Yeah.
it's you can be very aggressive with it. It's got a lot of speed for its size. It's just it's like a perfect little. It's like a perfect little. I don't want to say toy, but I mean it's a perfect little plane. I mean it's just like
Yeah.
you know.
Right.
Wee and and like I said, you can get really aggressive with it and just do stupid things. And
Right.
then if you put it back in the safe mode, just flip your gear switch, it just comes back, and you're like, oh, well, that was kind of fun. And that's what I was doing
Right.
at one time. I'm sitting there trying to tumble it and do whatever and get crazy with it, trying to get it out of control. And then I was like, okay, put it back into the safe mode. It'd come out, and then I just start doing it all over again. So I was just having fun being irresponsible, I guess is the word. Yeah, there you go. So
There you go.
it, it was,
Always
it,
good to be irresponsible
well,
with
yeah,
a new
well,
airplane.
yeah.
Nothing
So,
bad ever happens.
Okay,
when you
folks,
do
don't.
that.
Yeah, nothing. What could
Okay,
possibly
folks,
go
don't
wrong?
listen. Don't listen to me. Yeah.
So yeah, but yeah, no, I mean, yeah. So I was able to fly before Mike came down, and then when Mike came down, you know how it is when we all get together and then we start thinking of really great
Sure.
ideas to do things. So Mike brought down his pits, And so
Mhm.
he wanted to take it off of, he didn't want to fly it in our normal spot. So we went over by that, the church parking lot where we flown before. So,
Right.
to have a runway or whatever. So we went over there, um, started flying, started flying the glider and having some fun with it. And, let Mike fly it, because normally he's like, oh, I don't know about flying a new plane. I don't know if I'm going to fly it
Right.
well or that well, but it's a fun plane. You can't hurt it. So,
Right.
so we're flying and so what did so so I had a turn with the plane and I'm flying it and then I ended up I was flying a little high over us and I ended up flying like into the sun, you know, because the sun by that time was almost noon. So, kind of flew into the sun, came out of the sun. Mike's like, hey, man, uh, I think I remember these words: don't fly over our head, directly over our heads, don't fly in the sun, right? Because that's something he does he has a
Yeah,
good knack with it, right? And he does it all
a
the time.
bad
So,
habit of doing those.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I go, it's fine. So, that later came to bite me in the butt. And anyway, we were out there flying, having a good time. We flew we had a couple of repairs to do to Mike's to his pits, so I 3D printed a part or two for him, and we went out there. We successfully flew that, and once again, it was a little bit of a blustery day, and we're in this field that all the bluebonnets are blooming, and so people are stopping by the droves. Usually there's nobody over in that field, and everybody was over there taking pictures of the bluebonnet stuff and whatever. So anyway, we were, once again, I was up flying, and um, once again, I kind of had it up kind of high, um, and we were talking about whatever, and I got it to go over my head again. Right, it came over my head into the, out of the sun, and I go, oh crap, I got it, ooh, it went in the sun. And I kind of looked away, and then I went to look back. Well, I didn't see the plane, right? I'm like, okay, well, it should,
Oh no.
the sun's over here, like right here. So I'm looking here. There you go, so you can see it. I'm looking here, over right here, not looking at the sun, but I'm looking here where the plane should fly into my field of view. Well, like 10 seconds go by, nothing. And I'm like, huh. And I look at Mike and I go, hey, do you see my plane? And Mike's doing something. And he's like, no, I don't see your plane. And I'm like, ah, crap. So now I'm like looking. And dude, I do not see the plane. So I kind of throttle up, I kind of pulse the throttle. Don't hear nothing, and so I'm like, that ain't good. And so at that point, I'm like, okay, I haven't put in any inputs, right? So it should be traveling that way. So I go ahead and I put it in a slight bank to the left, right? And I'm just holding the sticks. My thought is, hey, I'll just, you know, make a turn to the left. I have the safe mode, or I had it. Yeah, I had the safe mode in or whatever. So I'm just holding this angle. I'm not doing nothing. We're just looking. And dude, I'm holding it for, after like 5 minutes, I'm like, okay, the plane has to be done.
5 minutes.
Yeah, because I'm like, I'm desperately looking around, and I'm like,
Right.
okay, it's been
Did you have
5
the
minutes.
throttle on? Did you have the throttle on?
No, it was just gliding. It was just gliding
Oh,
the whole
wow.
time. I had done whatever, went to the sun, just had it gliding, was waiting for it to come out. Never saw it come
Right.
out. Went ahead and put it in the left turn. Just held it. I'm trying to look. I'm looking all over. Didn't see nothing. I'm looking at the people who are all out in the field, seeing if they're looking up or seeing anything. And Mike's like, yeah, I don't. I lost it. When it went to the sun. And I'm like, well, I didn't get blinded by the sun. Because of my hat and my sunglasses, but it didn't come out where I expected it to come out. And so. Like I said, after 5 minutes, I'm just like, okay, well, the wind's blowing from this way, so the plane might have been blown that way. So we just started expanding our thing and started looking in the field and through the trees, and we ended up going by the church over there and looking all over. We looked on top of the buildings that we're standing next to. didn't see anything by those. And we spent a good half an hour looking for the plane, and I'm like, dude, it's gone.
Sun vaporized it, didn't it?
Yeah.
But-
So it just kind of
No, it's right behind you, Mike.
lost it.
You've got it. It flew all the way to Phoenix.
Yeah, there it
it.
is. Holy
It
crap!
flew all the way to
glided.
Phoenix. Is right here.
There it is. That's a world's record. It's got to be.
It is. It's got to be a world's record.
So
It's a homing pigeon.
So anyway, I was pretty heartbroken at that because, we're sitting out there, having fun with this thing, kind of looked away, went in the sun. Both of us lost contact with the plane, and we had no idea. We had not a clue as to where that plane went. So I will say it's a lot of fun, but you can lose sight of it, and you will lose it. Now, the good part was, in the sense, it wasn't like it went screaming out of the sky and, smashed on the ground. That, like I said, the ASX3,
It wasn't my striker story.
yeah, it wasn't something like
this
that.
Just,
But
Striker.
this just
But,
in, the Mexican
you know-
government shot down a UAV.
the UAV,
Right,
there
exactly.
you go.
Small UAV.
But
Yeah,
but
the
on,
UA
but on
government.
the flip side, it's one of those things because of let me put it this way, since it was kind of a blustery day and we were trying to land it at our feet or whatever, you'd go, okay, it's coming down, da 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 da, it's going to land here. Well, the stupid plane would just keep flying, and you'd be like, "Well, man, I'm overshooting where I thought it was going to land," because that ASX3 works too well. I mean, the plane slows down to nothing and just keeps going. So,
Right.
because Mike's like, "Well, how high was it? Was it that high?" And I go, "Well, it was making a shadow on the ground. It wasn't like it was up. I had it up 5 mistakes high. It wasn't that high." And he's like, "Oh, well, let's fly my plane, and if we can duplicate the shadow thing, we can see how high it is and where it could have possibly went." And we were trying all sorts of things, pulling stuff out of our butts, but no joy. So, I've been looking.
Now,
I've
if
been
it's the same place that you and I, drove the bats around and flew the Stuka and all those other places there at that where the bank and the church.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a couple of big trees in that parking lot. Do you think it went in one of the trees?
yeah, we
Like
looked
up
at
in the top?
Yeah, we looked at that was some of the first places we looked, and the way I thought about it, the way the wind was blowing, the field after that field where we flew the Stuka, right past the buildings. If you go past it, there's a big field out there.
Yep.
So that's where I went because the wind was pushing the plane more than anything else, and I was like, okay, it probably got blown over that way. It's probably landed in one of those lower trees or landed in the field. And that's the only bad part about that plane, since it's so small, UMX.
Yeah.
It doesn't take much to hide it. So
That's true. Matter of fact, if you look right here, I can just
Yeah, it's
put my
gone.
hand
Yeah,
and almost
pretty
hide
great.
the airplane.
So
Now it's a little
stealth.
bit further away
It's
from
a
me, but
stealth.
It is a
upside
stealth
down.
airplane.
so I'm laughing about it now, but I mean, there's not many planes that I've lost because of whatever, that I actually lost sight of a plane and actually lost the plane. I think this is the first time this has ever happened to me.
Yeah.
It sucks, but as it were, I got another one. Guess you guys can't see that.
Yeah.
I got a
You can see
replacement.
it.
So
There you go. Yep. Replacement's
I'm-
coming.
I'm overjoyed, but I'm saddened because it was a birthday present, and
Yeah. I'm sad too.
I am too.
I got it for you.
I hate losing airplanes. That's
I
Yeah.
know.
it's not even
terrible.
the price. It's just like what could I have done to prevent that? And
Right.
you look away.
I don't
and-
know.
Yeah, it's just totally perplexing. I gave a good friend of mine a plane years ago, and sure enough, like the first flight, it literally flew away. I was
Hmm.
like,
Oh,
how
yeah.
did that happen? He's like, it just went away.
Right.
I found it. It's halfway to Phoenix by now. So.
Now I've
Well,
had
so depending on the airplane, because when I mentioned earlier the striker story, many, many, many years ago, we had a guy that showed up at the field, and he's like, "Hey, are you an instructor?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "I bought this at the field," and I was like, "Wow!" It was one of those strikers,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
big ones, and those things are 90 miles an hour right out of the box. And he's like, I said, "Well, have you ever flown before?" He goes, "Nope." I said, "This is your first airplane?" He goes, "Yep."
Perfect.
I was
plane
like,
for a
"Okay,
beginner.
well, maybe we
Perfect.
should help you fly it
Yeah.
here." He goes, "Yeah, no problem." Well, we were flying in a little area, urban flying, which is a small field inside the, out here in Arizona, we have little
Little
green
parks, yeah.
belts, and we can fly there. So there was like neighborhoods all over, and he full throttle, and I let go of it, and he just jammed it, and that was the last we saw of it. That thing just went zing. And it was in somebody's neighborhood. I think like 2 months later, somebody brought it back and said, "Hey, man, this was behind my pool equipment." I never go back there. So anyway, but it was gone. 30 seconds. That thing was just a speck. So,
Yeah.
I mean, this one's not that fast, but it is still pretty peppy. And
Well, that's the thing.
I was
It was gliding. I wasn't zipping it around or flying. I was just in this thing. I was just playing gliding in the wind and was bringing it back towards myself. Got it in the sun, got it whatever. I looked out of the sun, looked off to where it should come out. And like I said, it didn't come out. And I'm like, what the heck?
It's a leaf on the wind.
Mm.
And
Jay's
that's
a leaf on
it.
the wind.
And then it just kept flying. So I'm
well,
hoping
the RC gods wanted that one
Yeah.
back.
Yeah, I guess so. So I'm hoping that maybe somebody, by the church over there or that little community that's over there will put
Mhm.
something in the Wimberley, paper or the one of the groups and say, "Hey, has anybody lost the plane?" And unfortunately, okay, so this is the other part. So I've been so excited. So have I put my name or anything in that plane? No. Did I
Nope.
ever think about putting my name in that plane? No, it's so small.
Nope.
How am I going to lose this thing?
Yeah.
So so where a normal plane, I'll have my name or I'll have something in there. There's nothing in there.
Sure.
So
Unfortunately.
we're supposed to have our name, our AMA number, the FAA.
I know,
number.
right? Well, yeah, but when it comes out of the box, it's so exciting to go out and
yeah,
fly.
I'm going flying. I'll do that stuff later.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that came back to bite
That's
me in the
funny.
ass. So folks, don't be like me. Learn from Jay.
That's it.
Don't be a Jay. Be a Timmy or a
Don't
Tom.
be a J.
Follow the rules. Put your names and stuff. There's a reason why you do it, so that something like happens like this, you have a good chance of getting it back.
And the police can find you.
Well, the good news about it though too is that this was so much fun. That even though you did lose yours, there's another one behind you that you did pick up, and AK Mike bought one too.
Yeah.
I guess I need to buy
he's
one,
got,
huh?
Yeah, they're fun. They're really fun. So it's definitely something that you can bring with you to the Electric Festival next year. For us to kind of go out and do that because
Oh yeah. I mean, because
it
like you said,
is-
you could
it
pile
is
on
a
race them.
ride.
You could think of a zillion different
Oh,
games
yeah.
to play.
it was
these things.
It was so much fun. So, and the batteries are really small. I just ordered a bunch as well for mine in the 3-cell version because the 2-cell is not as fast. It just kind of floats around.
Yeah,
but-
the 3-cell is what
anyway.
brings it alive. Like I said,
Yeah.
because when we flew the larger version of this plane, the Big Daddy of it, it was an okay glider, but I didn't think much of it. But then again, I started reading. Well, you're supposed to fly it on a 4-cell, not a 3-cell.
Mhm.
And then I was like, oh well, then I could see why the plane came alive if you start flying on a 4-cell.
Yeah, because I will
flying.
tell you that after having flown it on the 3-cell and flown it now mine on a 2-cell,
Yeah.
I would have had second thoughts on a 2-cell.
Well,
I really,
like I said,
if I would have bought this and then flown it a 2-cell, I would have been like, yeah, it's okay. It's not as speedy, but the fun meter gets pegged when you put the 3-cell, and
Well,
now
yeah,
you can do
instantly.
so much more.
so
stuff.
much more. Now, but
Instantly
like you were saying
changes it.
before, if you had a beginner, if you gave that to
Mhm.
your striker guy and put a 2-cell in this,
Mhm.
it's a perfect plane.
It's great.
to
Yeah,
if you
perfect.
want to introduce somebody into the sport, because once again with the safe mode, here have the sticks, go
Mhm.
ahead, crank the sticks wherever you want to do them, and they can't hurt nothing.
Yeah.
And then if they
That's true.
somehow get out of control, you just flip the thing, hit the gear switch, and you're
Yeah, you're
and
back in business.
you're back in business again.
I've got a great idea,
So-
Yeah,
guys.
that's true.
The Consendo
What's that?
Olympics at AEF. So you have
Oh,
we'll
there
do,
you
like a
go.
limbo contest. You got to fly underneath a bar.
That's
We'll
true.
do
Yeah.
a pylon race, and then combat.
I say you do all. I say you combine all three of those into one event.
Well, no, but
Into
whoever
one, there you go.
survives, then we'll get Allie to give us a free
Survive.
Consendo to replace it.
You
There you
do
go.
the limbo. You have to do the limbo, go under, and then you have to fly through like a little obstacle course, and then
and result in combat.
that'd be a lot
That
of
would
fun.
be kind of fun. All right. All right. Well, we'll put that on the agenda for next year. We'll see how far that
It's my
goes.
event. I'll put it on there.
Well, unfortunately, yeah,
Anybody
yeah,
will join,
may not
I don't
be
know, but who knows?
right. Yeah, exactly. I don't know if I'd throw my hat in the ring for the combat portion of it. Maybe the limbo thing. That'd be kind of cool. So, well, we are out of time, and we appreciate Jay's wonderful story about losing his airplane. We are happy that he did get a new one, so we're gonna have to see if he can keep this one a little longer than just a
Well,
couple of days.
It's going to get some extra flamboyant colors on it.
On the
Fabulous.
bottom, yeah, so you can
On
see
the
it.
bottom
Little
and on
bell.
the tail so that you could see it. So
Yeah, we'll get you an Apple Air tag for the inside. That way we can find it as well. So, well, anyway, from here in Arizona, I'm Michael.
Lost in the Woods. I'm Jay.
And still in Mesa AZ, Shannon.
All right, we appreciate you flying with us, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Let's fly.
You have been listening to the Park Flyer Podcast. Thank you for joining us, and we look forward to your next visit. Please give our show a star rating and review, and feel free to email us your questions, topics, or suggestions to parkflyerpodcast@gmail.com.